So Matt Walsh recently went on Tucker Carlson's podcast for a lengthy 2 hour long conversation. They touched on many things. And one of the things that they touched on that I've been speaking about for quite some time is obviously the Douglas Murray going on Joe Rogan and debating the likes of Dave Smith. Now, Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson, and Joe Rogan would seemingly agree with each other, as we know, and they would disagree with Douglas Murray's take. Lots of people have disagreed with Douglas Murray's take for some reason. There's also a lot of people that agree with Douglas Murray because lots of people that agree with Douglas Murray understand that he's very, very intelligent and he knows exactly what he's talking about. And, well, the debates, the points, I should say, that Dave Smith were making weren't exactly that intelligent or smart, and loads of smarter people have already debunked Dave Smith's points or arguments. And one of those people also happens to be Matt Walsh. Matt goes on Tucker Carlson and Tucker asks him about what he thought about the Douglas Murray debate with Dave Smith. And here was Matt Walsh's initial response. Have a watch.
What did you think of the debate between Dave Smith and Douglas Murray on Rogan a couple of weeks ago? Did you watch that? And
I did. I watched. I ended up watching. I wasn't planning on watching the whole thing, but I watched the whole thing. I'm constantly hearing from the peanut gallery demanding that I kind of give my verdict or my take on Israel and Israel versus Palestine and all this kind of stuff. And I have given my take, and my take is I don't care that much. I'm not just America first. I'm an American chauvinist in that I only care about my own country. I honestly don't care about other countries. I wish the people of other countries well. I think they all have a right to defend themselves, and they should. I think that if you can't defend yourself as a nation, or if you can't survive without being propped up by another government, say ours, then you shouldn't exist as a country.
Wait. If you can't exist without being propped up by another government, say ours, you shouldn't exist. Yeah. Israel cannot exist without being propped up by the United States.
You think so?
Its nuclear program came from the United States. Its weapons come from the United States. Its economy is supported by the United States. I'm not attacking Israel. I'm just saying in point of fact, I think that's true. I mean, Israel thinks it's true, or they wouldn't have armies of lobbyists and influencers in the United States. Bibi wouldn't have shown up twice in the past 3 months.
From my perspective, it seems like they can handle themselves quite fine. But any country, if there is any country out there that fundamentally cannot exist without being subsidized by American taxpayers, then not only should that country not exist, but that country already does not exist.
Can I just ask you, that's such an interesting, not only does it have no right to exist, it already doesn't exist. It's not a real country.
Yeah, not a real country. If any country that
right, that's true of.
Yeah. Now, I'm not convinced at all that is true of Israel. I'm not convinced at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either, by the way, and I think Israel seems like a perfectly functional and strong country, including with a strong economy that goes up and down. But basically, I mean, they have a robust tech sector. They've got a lot going for them. And so I think I kind of agree. I'm just saying they don't seem to feel that way, but who knows what the truth is.
I think that if we were to withdraw, I think we should withdraw all federal, all foreign aid from every country. You know, I don't think we should be doing it at all. I think and I think if we did that, I think Israel would still exist. I think if we took away all the foreign aid, tomorrow, next week, 2 months from now, Israel would still be
I agree with that.
A country.
Yes.
There are probably other countries on the planet that just would not exist anymore.
I personally think that Tucker Carlson responding to Matt Walsh saying that, well, America is largely responsible for Israel existing, he was talking completely outside of his backside with that statement, or those statements, I should say. To say that America is propping up their economy, propping up their nuclear power, propping up the army. Why is it that we've got a large swath of American influencers that are all for Israel? This is Tucker Carlson, ladies and gentlemen, who, if I'm being honest, doesn't seem to really side with what Israel is doing, especially with a comment like that. But Matt Walsh said that if you are relying on another country to prop you up and to help you out, you shouldn't exist as a country. And Matt Walsh is an American chauvinist, meaning that he is his own country first. And I think every country should be their own country first, primarily. Why is it that we're so worried about all these other countries, right? Why is it that so many people are obsessed with what's going on over in the Middle East? I think it's important to know what's going on over in the Middle East, but getting involved in terms of providing aid, providing military assets, all those things, if you are getting involved on that level, you've got to ask yourself why. Like, it's not really your conflict per se. You're your own country. If you're not involved in any kind of war-like conflict, why are you wanting to get involved? I understand they could potentially be an ally, which is something that Tucker Carlson doesn't seem to understand. But if they can handle themselves and they're not about to be dismantled, then let them be. Like, that's exactly what Matt Walsh was saying. And he was also pointing to Tucker Carlson. I think Israel can handle themselves quite fine and quite well. Thank you very much. Although Tucker doesn't seem to think so, because America is supposedly helping. Now, it's good for Netanyahu to come to America, speak with Trump, and keep the allyship strong, keep your ties with the West strong. You are a democracy. Democracies should obviously have good, healthy, strong relationships with other democracies. It helps, especially if that democracy is in a great deal of trouble, right? This is what happened in World War II. Britain was in a great deal of trouble, right? We were going to lose. That's the way it was looking. That is until Churchill, he kept asking America to get involved. America was not going to get involved as far as we know, right? Here's a war going on in the world, and then all of a sudden America happens to get involved after Pearl Harbor. An absolute travesty, right? But they were attacked. Japan attacked America. And even the general said they've awoken a sleeping giant. Big mistake. Japan should never have invaded, and the world could probably look a lot different at the moment. We just don't know. I always wonder if Japan hadn't have attacked Pearl Harbor, what would have gone on? Because America at that time was a major superpower, and they were being idle. They weren't really doing anything. Meanwhile, Australia, New Zealand, India, several other countries all coming together to try and stop Hitler and his invasion in World War II. History is amazing, isn't it? You know? So getting back to the Matt Walsh conversation, it is quite interesting because Tucker Carlson is wrong on so many levels. US aid to Israel represents 0.7% of their GDP. The idea that they would not exist without our support is preposterous. Same thing with Australia giving aid to Israel. I understand you want them to be your ally, and obviously there's a thing of helping out, but our tax dollars are going and funding a war that I want nothing to do with, to be honest with you. I don't like war at all. I really don't. If you're in a position of war and your country is actually involved, if you're being invaded, then yes. But I also understand the side of, okay, you've got to be your own country first. Look after your own country, your own people, before getting involved in other conflicts. And if you can't afford to get involved in other conflicts, don't. Anyway, the woke right, same energy, opposite direction. Here we go. Woke right, intersectional fascism, white racial consciousness, hypernationalism, patriarchal male, gay, hostile, straight, politically Christian, anti-Jew. Does that sound like Tucker Carlson to you? Doesn't seem to sound like Matt Walsh, if I'm being honest. But anyway, Joshua L. Harris has gone after Matt Walsh's conversation, saying that he doesn't care about Israel. We were not saying that we don't care about Israel and it's not a real country. He wasn't saying that at all. He says, if you are needing and requiring the sole help of America to have your country be around and exist, then rightfully so. You no longer exist as a country. You've got another country that is looking after you. You're not a sole country anymore. You're relying on someone else. That's all he was saying. Be your own country first. And he also said Israel's doing just fine as it is at the moment. Matt Walsh responds and goes, "You're lying about what I said. You're also calling for me to be fired for expressing the same views that I've expressed countless times before. You're an embarrassing, pathetic clown, and you're doing incredible damage to whatever cause you think you're helping. Or at least you would be damaging it if anyone knew or cared who you were." I have no idea who Joshua L. Harris is, to be honest. I really don't. Never heard of him before. But Matt getting upset at Joshua attacking and being really disingenuous and actually lying about the thing that Matt Walsh said is very, very interesting, if you ask me. So here is one point that Dave Smith and many others on the right can't seem to really point out. And that is, if you disagree with how Israel is conducting its war against Hamas, propose alternative solutions. Have a watch.
So Douglas Murray said one thing. He made one point that I thought was really good, which is a simple one. I like simple points.
Me too.
And at one point he asked Dave, because once they got into arguing about what happened after October 7th, how Israel responded, and Dave has all of his criticisms about what Israel has done. And then Douglas Murray said, "Well, what would you have them do? What would you prefer for them to have done if they want to rescue the hostages and also destroy Hamas? What do you want them to do instead?" And then, from what I remember, Dave, he pointed out that, okay, destroying Hamas and rescuing hostages are not necessarily the same objective. And then they started talking about rescuing hostages. They didn't really circle back to the destroying Hamas part. And I would have liked to see him stick on that point. Like, get an answer. So if you're Israel, you have a foreign, these foreign enemy that's come into your country, slaughtered hundreds of people. How should you respond to that? And I think he should have pressed that, and he didn't. And so it was sort of unfocused. Because I would have legitimately liked to hear the answer to that.
For sure.
What would you have them do? So we could talk about maybe there are other ways to rescue the hostages, but do you think they should try to destroy Hamas, given what happened? And if you do, how else should they go about it?
I would have loved to have heard Dave Smith talk about solutions on wiping out that particular group that is causing a lot of damage in Gaza at the moment, not Israel. I would have loved to have heard Dave and Joe and many others, for that fact, that hate Israel and are against Israel. I would love for them to actually talk about what Israel is supposed to do. Because if you got a T-word organization group and their charter is to wipe out Israel, what do you expect them to do? Oh, sure. Come on in. Wipe us out. Do more October 7th if you want. We allow you to. No. And Matt Walsh also says this in closing. Have a watch of this.
Taking any foreign country and making it the centerpiece of our political debates makes no sense to me. And I think people on either side do that. When I go on Twitter, go on X, and no matter what the topic is, it seems it's like it used to be 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's 2 degrees of Israel. Like, no matter what the topic is, it always comes back for a lot of people to Israel one way or another. And that's not how I see it. I don't see Israel as the centerpiece of any of these debates at all.
Okay. Right there, Matt Walsh is talking about Candace and many others that somehow manage, doesn't matter what it is in the world, what conflict is going on, what negative piece of news is happening, they will always somehow manage to blame one country Israel. They will always somehow manage to blame the Jews. I don't know how that works exactly, but to be honest with you, the level of obsession from members of the right to blame Israel for literally everything that's going on in the world is honestly insane. It's unhinged, if you ask me. It shows me that they've got Israel derangement syndrome. They're obsessed with the one country. And instead of telling the truth, they've got to lie and constantly make it about Israel. Get over yourselves. Maybe pick a different subject matter for once. Dan Bilzerian, for example. The stuff that I see that guy post, I'm just like, wow. I am actually always going, wow, you are an actual dingbat. You are the definition of a dingbat. But well done to Matt Walsh. I agree with the things that he was saying. And Tucker tried his best. Didn't really succeed. A lot of the stuff that he was saying made no sense. And the stuff that did make sense contradicted themselves. Like it was, I think Tucker just loves to talk, just like Candace does. And it's quite evident that he does. And he'll claim, oh, I don't know anything. Just asking questions. I don't know anything. He'll do this crazy laugh. And I'm just like, mate, really? Maybe you should get your facts right. But then again, he mentioned pretty much everything that we all need to know. He was saying that America's greatest ally happens to be a Muslim country, Qatar, that harbors and funds terror in the West. So that's all you need to know. I wonder if Megyn Kelly actually supports it. Who knows? We'll see. But anyway, that's enough from me. You guys take care. You be blessed. And I'll see you all in the next video.